welcome to Inner Circle Guidance. Today we're going to be doing a collective reading, but for those of you who are new to the circle, hello and welcome. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. I post new videos every single day. And if you're looking for daily short tarot readings, check out my Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, or YouTube Shorts. If you're looking for personal services or personal readings, I offer them through my website, innercircleguidance.com. Let's find out what the circle needs to know today. We have the Knight of Pentacles, the Two of Cups, the Five of Cups, the Three of Pentacles, the Eight of Wands, the Five of Wands on the bottom of the deck. There is a conflict that is happening within you at this time. And it's a conflict that it causes a lot of confusion, it causes a lot of chaos, it causes a lot of frustration, anger, and resentment at times. Other times it makes you feel like you're not worthy or you're undeserving in some way, and it really gets in the way of your self-worth and your self-confidence. But what I'm picking up on is that you don't necessarily realize this, and it's a conflict that is happening very much in your subconscious. The way that you are picking up on that something is imbalanced, which I am picking up on that you know this, is because it is showing itself in cycles where things will go great and then things will fall apart, and then things come together and then they fall apart, and it's sort of this consistent cyclical karmic cycle that you feel like you're stuck in. And the reason why this cycle is continuing, I'm picking up on the fact that you have not completely learned the lesson of reciprocity. Now, for some of you, I'm seeing that this is a problem that has been long-term, that specifically has to do with your finances and affects your finances. For others of you, this more has to do with just the fact that this has been a long-term ongoing process. The issue is that you keep negotiating your self-care and negotiating your boundaries. And so what happens is you'll go through these phases where things get kind of bad, and then you will really put in the spiritual work. It's almost like that negativity smacks you in the behind and gets you moving. That was a weird analogy. I guess the horse, I don't know. Anyway, but then I'm sort of seeing that you end up slowing down when things start to get better, and it keeps going up and down like this very hilly sort of motion. Some of you are struggling with reciprocity and with boundaries and self-care when it comes to your financial situations, because you're still overgiving to different situations in your life or other people. Your desire to support your family and be generous towards your friends and family is actually causing you problems because you're not taking care of yourself first. There's nothing wrong with helping your family or your friends, so don't put words in my mouth here. But some of you are doing this so consistently that you're doing it and you're not receiving anything back. Not because your friends or family are negative relationships or don't care about you, but because it's an imbalance where you're over giving and over offering. For others of you, I'm seeing that this more has to do with your relationships and your career and your relationships in general, where you have a tendency to always be there for your boss, your coworkers, your partners, whether it's business or friends or whatever. Always be there for your relationship. You're always there for everybody else. And then you feel like you're left out. People aren't supporting you the way that you want. People aren't giving back to you equally, whatever, because you keep constantly being there for everybody else, and then everybody else isn't always able to be there for you, because you have this idea about reciprocity being, well, if I'm always there for you no matter what, regardless of what I need, regardless of my boundaries, regardless of what financial situation I am, whatever, then you should also be. That is not actual reciprocity, because the energy is still out of balance because there's too much overgiving happening. You have to remember that There's a very distinct difference between being generous and being taken advantage of. And if you are constantly giving, regardless of your boundaries and things, and then you get mad at other people for the fact that you're overgiving, this is not their problem, this is yours. And that might be a little bit of a smack in the face that's, making you go, well, geez, that was blunt. But it is, it's your problem. It's not their problem. You're struggling with this because you still haven't learned the lesson, and it's causing you to have this inner turmoil because you haven't learned how to receive the way that you give. You haven't learned how to draw your boundaries that you need for yourself and actually uphold them. It's almost worse to say a boundary and then not enforce it than it is to not have one at all, because it teaches people how to treat you. When you are constantly overgiving, when you don't uphold your boundaries, when you don't prioritize yourself and your self-care and your personal time, you are telling other people that you are not valuable in that way, that they don't have to respect your boundaries, that they don't have to worry about your self-care or prioritize your self-care and respect to those things, because you're teaching them that you don't do it, so why should they? And when you are overgiving in that way, it's even worse, because not only are you not upholding these things and you're teaching people how to treat you, but you're encouraging them to take advantage of you. This is nobody else's fault but yours, though. And I say that as nicely as I can, because you have to get that through your head in order to move forward. Remember that when you are in karmic cycles, the only way to break them is to learn the lesson and apply it. So if you recognize that you do some of these things, but you do nothing about it, that's not enough to break the cycle. You have to actually make the changes. And what I'm hearing with the Eight of Wands, which is a very fast-paced energy, you need to do this very soon. Because what I'm hearing is the energy right now is in a state where you have the ability to close the cycle, or you can have the ability to step into it repeating. The other thing I'm hearing is that you're going to be receiving a lot of downloads and a lot of spiritual guidance about this particular issue. If you are open to receiving the lesson and applying it at this time, the universe is very much going to help you make it much easier on yourself to do that. It's going to give you the triggers and things that you need in order to know what and where you're missing out on these boundaries, where you're having these problems. Paying attention to how you feel about the giving is important. Are you giving because you feel obligated, because you feel guilty or shame regarding something, because you're trying to prove something to someone, because you need someone to like you, because you need validation? Or are you giving because you want to? Does the giving make you feel good? Does it make you feel happy, excited, elated, and free? Or does it make you feel trapped and stuck and like you're not valuable? You've got to stop negotiating your boundaries and stop negotiating your free time for yourself and your self-care in your priorities. And you've got to stop negotiating your prioritizing yourself. Those energies not only teach other people what you want, but it also communicates to the universe what you want. Remember that everything starts with self. This is why this is so important and why the overgiving is such a huge problem. If you're not receiving and you're not saying thank you and you're not accepting the gifts that are also given to you, you are then telling the universe and the other people in your life that you're not worthy of receiving them. If you dismiss the gifts that other people give you, or you dismiss the little things that they do, like, oh, hey, do you want a drink? And every single time you say no, eventually they're not going to ask you anymore. And it's not because they don't value it, it's because you don't. If you want to break this cycle, you've got to step into your power and you've got to say clearly what it is you want and need, and then uphold those boundaries, draw those boundaries, make them habits so you don't have to think about them and put energy into maintaining them. And then you have to align to the energy. That's going to help with this energy and this issue problem that's going on internally with your subconscious, because your brain and your body may be saying, I want to live a fabulous life, have my 10 of Pentacles, whatever. But your actions and the energy backing your actions are saying the opposite. And so what's happening is your internal self doesn't know what to do. So it's constantly banging its head against the wall. and it gets frustrated, and then it causes more negative energy, and then things start happening around you because all of these things are happening in your subconscious and you're not always aware of it. And then suddenly you'll get stuck in these mindsets and these default settings from this chaos and confusion and negative energy that you have going on in your subconscious, and it'll start manifesting things that you don't want in your life. If you want to break this cycle, you've got to start with little things that you can do every day. When you do those little things, things will start being easier. Little things like, no, I'm sorry, I can't. Period. Not, no, I'm sorry, I can't because my car broke down and the tire broke and none of that really happened. I just really don't want to do this, but I'm making up this excuse because I feel like I have to tell you something because otherwise you'll be upset. No is a complete sentence. If you're having issues with overgiving financially, maybe you're allowing people to borrow money from you and then they don't pay you back and then you never even ask them for the money. Stop allowing people to borrow money. Start asking people, hey, when are you going to pay me back who owe you money? If you are overgiving in relationships where you are always doing the emotional labor of the other person, or maybe your best friend who's broken up with her toxic ex for the 10th time in a row wants to call you and complain for 3 hours, you say, I'm sorry that happened to you. I can't talk about this right now. You've got to start drawing these little boundaries because these little things that seem little add up to big things. If you start writing down every day where your energy is going, you'll start recognizing where the changes need to happen. For example, you might think you only talk to your friend with the toxic ex who keeps getting back together for 3 hours every now and again. But then when you start tracking where your time is going, suddenly you realize that you've spent 3 hours every week talking to her, which adds up to how many hours every single month, which is how many hours you could have been putting into something else you actually cared about and wanted to do. Not that you don't care about your friend, but if your friend is constantly complaining and not doing anything about it, and you're always the person they're venting to, maybe don't be the person they're venting to anymore. You have to remember that in these scenarios, it's not always that people are trying to take advantage of you. Sometimes they don't know that you don't want to spend your time and energy that way. Your best friend may think you find her very funny and entertaining, and that you want to hear her, crazy escapades with her ex or her whatever toxic boyfriend that she's, in and out with every so often. But if that's not how you actually feel, you can't be afraid to ask for what you want. So those are just some examples. If those don't resonate, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. But those are the examples I can think of that a lot of people tend to overlook that can happen very easily, and then it goes from a 5-minute conversation to a 3-hour conversation, or it goes from $5 to $400, or whatever. And so pay attention to where the energy is out of balance and pay attention to how you feel about it. How you feel about it is going to be a good indication of whether or not that particular area is in balance and the boundaries are where they need to be. It could be as simple as you have boundaries in place, you are maintaining it, but you're not maintaining it in a certain way enough. So for example, maybe let's just go back to the toxic ex-friend again. Maybe you are telling your friend, hey, I can't talk right now, and you are doing that, but maybe she's still calling you about it and texting you about it, and then she gets upset because you're too afraid to flat out tell her, listen, I'm sorry this is happening to you, but if you continue to be with this person who is not good for you, I can't be your person that you vent to and talk to about it anymore. Maybe you need to go a step further with that boundary to put it in place so that you're still not wasting your time and energy in energetic transactions on situations, people, places, things, etc. that are not in alignment with what you're trying to do. So if this reading resonated with you, don't forget to like this video. Your affirmation for this reading is, my boundaries and my self-care are non-negotiable. And as always, may your life be full of light, full of love, abundance, and gratitude. I'll see you next time.